Welcome to Vital 100 Wellness with Dr. Bob, the podcast designed to take your health to the next level.
Health is your most important asset. Without health, you truly do not have anything. You can be wealthy, you can have all kinds of friends, and if you're not healthy, you are going to be in and out of doctor's offices, taking multiple medications. You're going to be fatigued all the time. You're going to be wondering when the next illness is coming down the pike. And in most cases, after a number of years, you're going to get a chronic illness such as cancer or MS or diabetes. So health is so critical to our entire lives. Now, my name is Dr. Bob Johnson, and in this podcast series, we're going to do a number of weekly podcasts to be able to give people the information to become optimally healthy. You see, without the right information, and it is available to each and every one of us, but it's very hard to know in the flood of health information, whether it's pharmaceuticals or people trying to sell you things, whether what is going to be the right thing for your health. And except for identical twins, everybody's different. So it's going to be very important to truly find out not only what you want, but what your body can tolerate, what your body needs to become optimally healthy. And so that is the kind of the gist, the whole basis for this podcast is to give people the information that they can use to become optimally healthy. Because, as I said, without good health, you really don't have anything. The world is littered with people who are very wealthy, people who have just about everything, and if they don't have health, it really doesn't make any difference. Now, years and years ago, decades ago, what happened was people thought living to 70 or so was very good. But really now, as more and more people become centenarians, that is living to 100 or more in good health, is really truly a nice goal. There's a statistic that says that in the U.S. population, the average person spends 90% of their lifetime healthcare dollars in the last 6 months of their life. So it is very important to be able to get to an older age, and the information's there. We're going to give you what information, but it's important that you use it, you try what works for you to be able to reach that century mark in good health. And so that's what we're going to be doing with this podcast series, is going over individual things, individual issues that you can start to explore, because as I said, there is so much misinformation, and the two big impediments to living a ripe old age of 100 in good health. The two biggest things are lack of information, that is, the individual doesn't have the right information for whatever reason, or misinformation. They're using information that really doesn't hold truth about how to reach 100 in good health. So we're going to address these different topics so that you can take a little bit from this one, a little bit from that one. We're going to give you really the information you can start exploring on your own. As I said, misinformation or lack of information is a huge impediment to overall good health. So the first thing I'd like to go over, and that is what the difference is between underlying issues and symptoms. In our day and age, healthcare system is trying to basically suppress a symptom. Symptoms such as pain, symptoms such as poor sleep, anxiety, issues like just the fatigue. Maybe a symptom, even something like cancer, is a symptom of the other issue is underlying issues. And so to be able to identify the underlying issues is critical. And that's going to be a basis for our entire podcast series, is what are the underlying issues so that you can address them and let your body do the healing. In fact, the only true healers in the world are our own bodies. And so by finding out what the underlying issues, getting rid of them, providing the body with the good tools to be able to resolve these problems and to really year by year get to that golden century age so that you can enjoy a long life. I mean, so many people I see that have abused drugs, who don't care about their health. They may be dying in their I hate to say this, they may be dying in their 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s. That is really unfortunate, because what can you do between the ages of, say, 70 and 90 or 100? How much can you accomplish? How much joy can you get out of life? How much can you enjoy your offspring, your children, their children? So that living to 100 in good health is absolutely critical. A little bit about my background of how I came to be able to do this and have the knowledge to be able to understand what is good health and how to achieve that. So I have kind of a dual background, which brings me to this point. First of all, I've always enjoyed science. I was a biology major in college. I went to dental school in Philadelphia. I was in the military for 2 years and did a hospital residency, and came out with a huge knowledge base of high quality dentistry. And we'll talk about dentistry and overall health. Well, my other track in life was that I was a national class athlete. I did a number of things. I played basketball in college. I played golf. I did many things, but my true accomplishments came from running. I was a national class runner and actually qualified for the Olympic trials in 1984 in the marathon, and was ranked 35th in the marathon. So I really enjoyed good health from athletics, performance, and realized that it's so important to be a good performer in life, an optimal performer. You had to have good health. It wasn't just going out and competing. You had to realize that it's important to take care of your health in addition to high quality training to achieve that health. And what I interestingly realized was that the training I was doing to qualify for the Olympic trials may have been a little bit too much training, and it basically athletes who overtrain can have some health issues as well, and we'll go over that. So as a holistic dentist, I studied more and more to see how the health of the mouth affected the health of the overall body. And in fact, that is a reality, is that the two are very connected. What goes on in the mouth is going on in the rest of the body, and vice versa. And so more and more I studied how issues of the mouth, infection, materials that were used, microbiome in the mouth, the way the jaws come together, what we call the occlusion, how that affects up and down the spine. So I studied that, and at some point in my career decided that I want to become a health consultant. I knew a lot about dentistry. I knew a lot about naturopathic medicine. I knew a huge amount of integrative functional medicine. And so I've studied with the best people in the world, and have come to a point where I use my diagnostic skills and my treatment skills, my communication skills, my desire to get people healthy, my knowledge to be able to achieve optimal health, not only with the individual patients I have, but also as a lecturer, as a person on this podcast, that I can dispense good optimal health so that people can use that and they can achieve optimal health themselves, whether it's because they want to live a long life, whether they want to perform better, whether they want to just feel good in life and not wake up feeling uncomfortable, to be able to enjoy everything in life with good health. And you can get there. Believe it or not, you can reach 100 years or more in very, very good health. Now, it takes a lot of work to get there, a lot of knowledge, a lot of, should we say, discipline to be able to reach that age and enjoy it. There are some people, and you'll hear stories about this all the time. My grandmother smoked all the time, and she drank alcohol on a regular basis. She never exercised, and she was 103 before she died. Well, these are people that have incredibly optimal genetics to be able to do that. Very few people can do that. If they abuse themselves, if they have a very unhealthy lifestyle, if they don't follow health protocols and incorporate healthy living into their lives, there's a very good chance they're going to die or contract cancer or MS or diabetes or autoimmune disease at a very early age, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and more. And these are the people that we hear that died in their 50s, 60s, 70s. That is unfortunate, because that did not have to happen. So part of our discussion is going to be about how to optimize your genetics, whether they're unhealthy, whether they're optimally healthy. So it's very important, and it's a question I always ask my patients is, how old did your father or your mother live? How old were your relatives? And that gives me good information about what their genetics are like and how we should approach things. Because getting people healthy, to optimal healthy, is not just one thing or two things. It's not just eat broccoli, or it's not just go out and walk every day. These are all very important little components, parts of getting healthy. And you'll see that you're going to have to do quite a few things in your life, whether you have optimal genetics or not optimal genetics, to be able to achieve an older age in good health. So we're going to go over all those and why this podcast is so critical, because, as I said, it will give you the good information to be able to incorporate in your life. Now, you can start at any age. You can start this at age 80. You can start this in your teens or 20s or 30s. Whenever you start is the right time to start, but don't delay, because chronic illness like cancer, diabetes, these kind of things, and illnesses take a long time to develop in the body. And we want to catch them very early in their inception. We want to prevent their illness, and we want to be able to get your body so it can fight its battles, whether you realize them intellectually or you don't realize them and they catch you off guard. We want to create a healthy body to be able to fight the infections, to fight the toxins, to fight off what life deals you and what your lifestyle is dealing you. So I think another question that's very important is, how much do you want to put into your health? I put a huge amount into my health. I try to get my patients to do that as well. But some people don't care about it. They want the easy way out. They want to be able to just take a drug when something is a symptom. They can't sleep, take a drug. They're in pain, they take a drug. They are dizzy, take another drug. And it may, that whole process may be good to mask a symptom, but you're not taking care of the underlying issue to get rid of the symptom. If you don't take care of the underlying issue, it will come back to haunt you. If you, let's say you have cancer and you go in and do a surgery and get the cancer out, and they say, well, you're cancer free. Well, if you don't take care of the issue that caused the cancer, then guess what? The cancer is going to come back. It may be 3, 4, 5 years, but it's going to come back. So it's important to find the underlying cause, whether it's after you've had a chronic illness or whether it's before, whether you want to prevent it. It's important to understand what your body's dealing with. Now, along with that, we've all got to realize that we live in, and I'm talking about the U.S., the more developed world, we live with a lot of challenges. We live in a toxic world. We're getting more and more exposed to chemicals, heavy metals, plastics. We're getting exposed to all kinds of things, electromagnetic frequencies in the cell phones that we have. We're exposed to a huge amount of toxicity. Some we don't even realize we're being exposed. So that's an underlying issue, that our environment is really undermining our overall health. We live in a world with a lot of stress. Some people love stress and chaos and so forth. But the people who live to optimal health have managed that very well, have minimized where the stress comes from. Now, stress can be internal, it can be external. So to identify sources of stress is very important to be able to eliminate them in your life. Another thing is nutrient depletion. Whether you're not digesting and you're not absorbing those nutrients, or whether you're just eating foods that are processed and come from foods that have low nutrient levels, we as a population are very deprived of proper nutrients. And we're going to go over this in extensive detail, what nutrients are good, what nutrients are not so good. And so in our environment, we have the stress, we have the toxins, we have the nutrient depletions, we have hormone disturbances, we have genetic imbalances. There's so many things that we're dealing with, and you could be focused for the rest of your life on every one of these. What I always say is you've got to enjoy the journey. And so to be obsessed, to have OCD on everything is health, is not allowing you to enjoy it. But you can devote a fair amount of your knowledge, learn what to do and what not to do very quickly in life. You can make meals that are high in nutrient levels, or you can take certain supplements to get you to high nutrient levels. You can identify sources of stress, and to minimize those, you'll never not be exposed to stress. In fact, stress is, to a certain extent, allows us to be able to adapt our bodies. But excessive stress really it helps us form the stress hormone, which in the short term is fine, but in the long term, that stress hormone cortisol undoes us. And you can try to eat the right things and avoid the wrong things. And you can also learn where toxicity is in your life, whether it's in your mouth, whether it's in the foods you're eating, whether it's in the pastimes you are participating in. Wherever it is, those toxins are located. You'll never avoid them, but you have to mitigate them and be able to get rid of them in your body. So, for example, about a third of the homes in the U.S. have high levels of mold. Mold is very damaging to the body, and to be able to get rid of the mold, to be able to identify where it is. So, for example, if you live in a house that has been flooded and has mold in it, you better get out of that house in some way or get something that filters out the mold. So we're going to go over in this podcast series how to identify those things, how to enjoy a lifetime full of vibrancy and energy and health, so you aren't going to the doctors all the time, but you're also going to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You're going to be able to enjoy the fun things in life and be able to truly get to an old age, over 100, in good health, and be able to look back and say, geez, I really had a good life, and I passed that on to my children and their children. That to me is one of the nicest things, is all the knowledge that I have is to be able to pass it on to my children and the people that I meet, their children, so that they too can live a healthy life. And in a sense, that's my legacy that I can pass on. So this podcast series is going to be very informative. Once a week, we're going to do a podcast of about between 20 and 30 minutes. It depends on the topic. And I would always have people who enjoy this podcast series who write in to me, send me an email to Bob, B-O-B, Johnson, Johnsson, DMD @gmail.com, so I can see what topics that people want to address. I have my own itinerary. I have my own list of topics which are very critical, but I also like to see what my audience is desiring, what they want, so that they too can start to incorporate things. Realize that it doesn't all happen at once. It may be one or two things a month. It may be something that you change in your lifestyle gradually. I don't put everything all at once into my life. I gradually have exercise routines that I work with. I gradually improve my diet. I help myself continue to identify sources of stress and be able to start to eliminate those. That's very important, is to understand how to reduce the stress in your life. Because that can be one of the most damaging things, is to have that stress all the time. And so very important are the strategies how to reduce stress and to live a truly enjoyable life where you get to 100 in good health, and you can look back and you can say, geez, that I have a good life, and I feel like I helped so many people around me. So with that being said, I want to say, if you have other people that can benefit from good information on health, can enjoy their journey, and can get to a point where they live to 100 in good health, please have them tune into our weekly podcast. I also do a blog, and we can get that to you so that you can learn how to get to your goals in life and get to an optimally healthy existence. Take care, and until we talk next time, enjoy your journey.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Vital 100 Wellness with Dr. Bob. Be sure to visit our website at vital100wellness.com for more ways to listen and to explore additional health resources. If you have any questions for Dr. Bob or feedback and suggestions for the podcast, you can email us at info@vital100wellness.com.